Microsoft is opening up its gaming vault. Xbox is rolling out a handful of its previously Xbox exclusive games to Sony's PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. Microsoft's Xbox CEO Phil Spencer saying on a podcast Thursday the console maker will also release 4 exclusive video game titles on external platforms. For more on what this means for Microsoft's growth strategy, I'm joined by Lewis Ward, IDC Gaming, Esports, and VR and AR Research Director, alongside our very own tech editor, Dan Howley. Good to talk to you today, Lewis. You know, we've heard Phil Spencer say in the past this new strategy about making sure that every screen is an Xbox. How does this announcement fit into that vision?
Great, thanks for having me. So, yeah, it's true that Microsoft has been emphasizing the software and the capabilities of offering games on pretty much every screen that consumers have for several years now. So this is an extension of a strategy that's been out there for many, many years. And obviously, they want the best experience to be on Xbox console hardware. And then they've pushed into PCs to a significant extent over the past few years. And then mobile is more aspirational, but something they clearly view as a growth opportunity outside of most, developed economies is going to be, can we put those same games in the cloud and offer it on, iOS and Android devices that people have, counted in the billions worldwide.
Lewis, I want to ask, when it comes to Microsoft, their console sales are slower than the PlayStation 5, right? I think the estimate was Take-Two had said there were 77 ninth generation consoles sold, the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5. And Sony recently said that they sold 50 million PlayStation 5. So I guess that leaves 27 million Xbox units. So almost 2-to-1 difference. What does it mean now that they're thinking of taking these, or they are taking these first party titles to other devices? We heard Phil Spencer say that they're sticking with the hardware strategy, but it seems increasingly like they're moving to a software kind of focused side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 4 titles are not like the crown jewels, right? It's not Halo, it's not Gears of War or Forza. It seems to be, Sea of Thieves, a live service game. Grounded was another one that appears to be. I don't think they've finally released the titles, but that's certainly the online speculation. And yes, I think there was a large share of Xbox players who were concerned that a lot of the crown jewels of the Xbox game studios are going to be eventually playable on PlayStation 5. And so that was the thing that really caused a lot of consternation, let's say, among the Xbox fan base. But Phil Spencer and company really tamped that down yesterday by saying, no, this is a limited approach that we're taking with 4 specific games that are a few years old at least. They are successful games, very high Metacritic ratings. And so the idea is to basically monetize a sunk investment at this point. And if they put it on PS5 and Switch, it sounds like they're going to go to both. All 4 games are going to go on both by the end of this year. It's going to be a few, I don't know, several $1 million more, right, coming into the Xbox ecosystem from a revenue angle, and hopefully grow some more fans even on competitors' hardware, as it were. So I think that's the plan, the vision.
I guess, what does it say then that people were nervous that Microsoft was just going to move out of the hardware business? I guess it gives the feeling that there's a sense that there's a lack of security for Xbox.
Yeah, and I guess there was a leak or something a week or 2 ago that hinted that it could be much more than what was ultimately announced yesterday. And presumably it's plausible that some games we don't know about will follow the same trajectory. I might add that Minecraft is a hugely successful game for Microsoft that's on every platform under the sun, and no one seems to particularly care about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, there has been significant concern that perhaps they're even going to get out of the hardware business, or that, again, some of their, real mainstay franchises, first-party stuff, are going to show up on other console platforms. And in effect, as far as I'm concerned, Phil Spencer and company, Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, basically said that is not going to happen for the foreseeable future, at least. So to my mind, the podcast interview really should have assuaged a lot of the concerns that were expressed by, Xbox gamers that expressed concerns that might happen.
Louis, you talked about the different faces, the different platforms we're seeing these games on. Mobile, you said still aspirational, not quite there yet. Where are the biggest revenue opportunities?
Right. Well, I should caveat that now that Activision Blizzard is part of Microsoft, that of course King, which is like the #1 grossing mobile studio, gives them a giant beachhead, and there are other games that King makes as well. So with the caveat that post acquisition, Microsoft instantly becomes a top 5 grossing publisher even on mobile. But beyond that, their first party games are generally PC or console centric, and those really haven't made the jump to mobile. But I expect over time that many more games from internal studios beyond what King has already been working on and whatnot, and beyond simply cloud stream gaming, that we will begin to see first party games that have perhaps not playing in the same environment, although Microsoft certainly loves cross-play and cross-purchasing, those sorts of things. But I think the first steps into mobile will probably be more like taking some first-party games, creating a somewhat different version of the game that's optimized for mobile, launching that and trying to grow it organically. And then we'll begin to see some more cross-platform IP where perhaps some players from PC and console may actually be playing against mobile players from a first-party perspective on Xbox/Microsoft.
Louis, I just have one more question. What's the big deal if they move some first-party titles to other companies? I mean, obviously, the idea with these first-party titles is, we have this hot game, come buy our console or come try our service. But I mean, for Microsoft, from a general revenue perspective, wouldn't it make more sense for them to just hit as many places as possible to get as many people to play the game as possible? Similar to what you said with Minecraft.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. Microsoft as a company, I would say, is very interested in subscription business models and putting its content. And this is certainly a case they made to the FTC for Activision Blizzard. So they don't want to change that story now. They want to be a means of putting their IP on as many platforms as possible. That's certainly the vision. But at the same time, there's this tension for consoles specifically where they do want to sell hardware. And it's absolutely the case that it remains to be true that for Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo consoles, that first-party monster AAA games are system sellers, right? They're often bundled together with a theme controller and a look of the console design. The game is bundled for free at perhaps a price that includes that cost. And so it remains important. And Microsoft has said they're going to put out a next-gen Xbox console, probably not coming till 2028 or so. So we're looking at consoles from Microsoft coming through 2035, something like that at the least. And I think it's an ongoing tension, but the bottom line is that first-party exclusives are important to gamers. I think they listen to their gamers, and so we're going to see a bifurcated strategy of trying to do two impossible things, which is to have all games on all platforms possible to maximize revenue when you're third place from an install base perspective. That's an important vision to have, but also move the hardware and provide an experience that will, offer a best-in-class experience from their perspective with certain games that are only available in the Xbox ecosystem. And so I think that will just continue over time, but it's fair to say that Microsoft will probably lean more into that wider vision of games distribution, over the next few years.
A lot of moving pieces there. Louis Ward, IDC Gaming, Esports, and VR and AR Research Director, alongside our very own tech editor, Dan Howley. Thanks to both of you.